So we got our 2013 Honda Ridgeline. We're doing front brake pads, rotors. We're going to reuse the calipers. We're going to crack both of our things loose. So I cracked one loose, and there's two on the front here. Crack that loose. We're going to get those off, and then I'm going to take the caliper bolts off to slip these off. Got a, let me see, Tony, 17 millimeter for the caliper bolts here. There's two of them. Now this is a dual piston caliper. You can see one there and one there. So we're going to collapse both of these pistons with the pry bar as best we can, and then we're going to use the vice grips to finish it off. So I'm going to pry up on the caliper here. I'm going to get my bar in between the caliper and the piston here, and I'm slowly collapsing the piston. I can move my bar in a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Get the bottom up here. Get our tool in here. Start collapsing the piston. I'm going slow. And we're going to use the vice grips to finish collapsing it. So we'll sit the caliper up on top here, like this. Piston's not completely closed, so I'm going to grab the vice grips and we'll get this closed. You want to go slow, you don't want to go too fast. When you get to the bottom, you'll know you're at the bottom. So I'm going to leave this one on, and I'm going to use the other one and collapse this one down now. And they're moving really good, so I'm happy with that. Okay, get this one done. Make sure this one's bottom too. Okay, I'll take these off. We're all done with these. So the boots here, we're going to roll this boot back down into place. It's going to come out when we step on the brake pedal. I just try and get it down. If I can get it to roll back in place. As the piston comes out, it'll fix itself though, but if I can push it back in, I will. Alright, so we got that set there. I'm going to leave this over here for now. And we're going to take the caliper with the bracket off. And I've got an 18 millimeter with the 1/2 inch drag ratchet. Already had never sees on these, that's why it's coming apart nice. they pull back away from the rotor. You gotta try not to forget to put them back on. These shoes are all, pads are real thin, and they drag in these clips, so it's very important to get these clean, because if it's frozen in there, it gives you a false sense that you have a good brake pedal, and you really don't. So you need to take the wire brush, you need to clean these with the wire brush really good. We've also got a little file that we can run across them, so if you have any scale in here at all, it'll take the scale off. And what it does is, when you put the brake clips on there and you have the brake pads in between here, it gives them a little more room for the pad to slide. So if this is built up with some shit on it, some sludge or crud, whatever you want to say, rust, then it'll crimp down on the brake pad and not let it slide easy enough. So we've got a small file over here that we'll show you. Now we just run a file across it. Nice little file here. You just run a file across it to get any loose stuff off. Now that's nice and smooth. Do the same thing for this side. Okay. Feels good. So we're going to lube our caliper pin. Put a little blob in there. The front brakes take a lot of heat, so you want to keep enough lubrication in here to keep these pins sliding nice. These things seize up. You think you have a really hard, firm brake pedal, but your brake's really not working well. Push this in, it'll push this grease down into the bottom, and then it'll squirt back up. That's what you want. Okay. I'm going to put my new clips on here. Sometimes you gotta tap these down with a little hammer to get them to go down. Got these little clips on the inside that have to go on the inside right there, so you have to line them up. Sure they're flat like that. Flat, flat. Okay, so those are good. Now I can lube these up. brake pads in there now. This procedure on pretty much every vehicle in the front is the same thing. You gotta make sure when you have your clips off, you gotta file them, wire brush them, get them clean so that your brake pads will slide on good. Got a brake pad here. Try not to get really any grease on this if you can. If you do, you can take a little bit of sandpaper, clean it off. See how those are sliding down good? That's the way we want that. We're going to put the other pad over here. Those go down good. Now we've got these clips that go on the brake pedal on these brake pads, and you try and put them on now, they're gonna want to push the pad out. So I'm going to get this bolted onto the onto the spindle first, and then I'll slip these on so I can hold them as I slide the caliper over, because these are going to want to spring the brake pads off, and a lot of times they become a nuisance. So that's kind of the way I decide to do it. So we're going to clean up our brake rotor here and get that set so that we can put it back on the vehicle.
The new sun shop.
Alright, so we get this clean. We're going to go never seize the spindle and then slip this on.
Giant. 26 bucks.
So we're lining up our... We're going to get our bolts lined up. Never seize on these. Okay. Caliper bracket. Alright, so we got our bracket loaded up. Slip this on. So we got our bolt here. Now we got those little cookies we're going to be dealing with. But first, I'm going to put the caliper lube on the boots like I did, a little here, here, and here. And then we're going to get those clips on, and we'll deal with them so we can hold the clips, the pads, and then slip the caliper on. Keeping these boots lubricated so that they don't dry up and split and get dirt and debris in them, and then they fail. The pistons will fail. So clips. These things can be a pain in your ass, so we're gonna put, you got the hole up there, and you got the hole there, and they try and push the brake pad out. And when you put the second one on, they really try and push the brake pad out. So put this one on and get this one in. And what I like to do is I like to grab the caliper, make sure your line is not twisted, okay? And then I slip it on like this. And these pins have to be turned a certain way to line up. You can't start the bolt like this one. Let's get this one started. This one's lined up. So I got to rotate this caliper pin a little bit down.
Catch it?
Yeah, it feels like I got it. There it goes. Gotta get the angle of the cadangle right for the pins. So we got our clips in. And that's what's going to help spread the brake shoes, the brake pads, pardon me. Okay, that's tight. That's tight. And we're going to tighten these two torch bits a little bit. We've got the tool here. Just giving them a little tap. I don't have to go crazy with them. We're going to do the other side. So this procedure is the same procedure as the other side, and there'll be no bleeding involved. We just got to pump up the brake. Because I'm changing the caliper and the pads and everything, I don't have to take this apart. So I'm going to just take the line off over here, which is a 11 millimeter. Crack this loose, and I'm going to put a pair of vice grips on it, so I don't let any air into the system. And I'm not crushing this thing, I'm just giving a little squish to it, and then get this to crack loose. I'm just going to take this right off.
So if you weren't changing the rear brake caliper, those two bolts, Steve will point them out to you, you would loosen those up,
Yeah,
right, Steve?
this one here and this one here.
But-
We would slide the caliper back and we would collapse the piston. But we're changing it so we don't have to take it apart on this one. So I've got a 17 millimeter crack loose on the inside here. And I'll just put my little cheater gear wrench on here to help me. Just crack this loose, and then we'll gear wrench these off. That one up here. So it saves us a step because we're changing the caliper. We don't have to take all of the we don't have to take the caliper off. And so technically we're unbolting the brake bar right now. And that's all we're really gonna have to do. Get the brake bar off and the whole assembly will come off like that. And we bought an inexpensive set of brake pads so we could buy some time, so we ordered all the stuff online. And you know, can't be driving around on iron, so we just pad slapped it to get some time. And we had the holidays recently, so just unbolting this. Now we've been in here before. We've got never sees on this. Just slide the caliper right off. The rotor, we taken our impact driver, we put it on. I've already I went all around and did all the wheels already. But you know, you just hammer it, you're holding it to crack loose, you smack it, and then it cracks loose. So I cracked all of these loose already as well. Okay, the shoes look fantastic. So our self-adjuster is down here. So we're gonna clean our new rotor, never sees like we always do. And then we're gonna put the rotor on and make sure it has drag going on, and we'll adjust the self-adjuster from here. There's really no way to, yeah, there's no hole in the back here, so, and on the new rotors, you'll see there is no hole to really get in there and adjust. You have this hole right here for this plug, but I usually just adjust them up and then I get it to slide on, so we'll never seize this, and we'll get our rotor clean and we'll slip it on and adjust it. So we're going to clean off our rotor. They always have like an oily slash when you take them out of the bag for storage purposes. That's why after you get them on and you're driving the car for a day, sometimes you can smell a little bit of it burning off. We've got to do the inside here because we've got our emergency brake shoes running in here. Make sure this is all wiped down. Okay, so we're going to go over and try and slip this on the brake shoe. So we've got the hole to line up for the stud we took out, and it's going to be this one here. So temporarily just putting this on. See how loose it goes on? That means I got to adjust my shoes. And I can adjust it, you know, through this little hole. And maybe just go that route to show you guys. I'll get the light and a little screwdriver.
So you can see the adjuster right in there.
If we look inside, we can see the teeth on the self-adjuster right there.
Yep.
And we're going to go in with the screwdriver. And we're just going to crank it until we get this thing to tighten up. It just got a spring under it. It doesn't really have like a lever that's you have to push on it, so it's easy to adjust these up. Now, do I know if I'm going the right way? No, I don't know. But if I'm going 6 or 7 turns and it's still as loose as it is, I got to think I'm going the wrong way. So I'm going to try and go the other way. Okay, now it's tightening them up. I can feel it.
There you go.
So I'm going to tighten this thing up until it stops moving. And then I'm going to back it off. Okay, so I can't move this right now. So now, you know, I've been going like this, so I'm going to go the opposite way. 1, 2, 3. And I've got some drag. And, you know, if I want to go 1 tooth tighter, you know, you can go 1 tooth tighter, but I usually tighten it up so that I can't move it anymore. I can't move it, and then you back it off, you know, 1 to 3 turns. You know, three turns is not going to hurt you. Now, I got it lined up so I can put my drum on. So now when I pull up on my emergency brake, I step on the pedal, there's not a lot of travel because it's adjusted properly. And every time you put a new rotor on and you use your existing shoes or new shoes, you should adjust that up. It didn't take us long at all. So we're gonna put some never sees on the bolt and put this back in right now. After I'm done, before I put the wheels on, I'll go around each wheel and I'll just give it a little tap to kind of make sure they're tight. So we've got our rotor set up now. We've got our line pinched off. We got to make sure that we get our other copper washer off. Make sure this is clean. So we're going to go over and set up our caliper right now. We'll come back, we'll wipe this down to make sure this is clean, and we'll put our caliper bracket together, and then we'll put the caliper on. With the new caliper, I'm going to roll the plug out of it, put that out. Okay, and then they gave me some new clips, and they gave me the seal washers and the bolt for the caliper. So I'll put one on now, keep the other one aside. I got a 12 millimeter. Take this bracket off here. So even though this stuff has been lubed, you know, we still lube it up. You know, I don't necessarily trust that everything seems to be a bare minimum that they give you now. So, and I'm not knocking the manufacturer, but you know, I'd rather put a little more lubrication in it. And we use a synthetic grease, so it's a little more heat tempt. So pull these out, and you know, there ain't a lot on there, you know, so take our lube. I usually like to get a little bit filled into the boot so that when I'm pushing the pin in, it pushes some of this grease down into the boot, and it'll just expand the boot. Same thing with this side. Throw that down there. Okay. Let's get our clips on. Clips on backwards. They each have a side. Okay, get this one on now. Okay, I got a little excess grease here. Put it on here. So we've got our brake pads here. This one goes on the inside, like this. Try not to get any grease on the pad if you can. Alright, so we got to put some caliper pin lube on the boot. You know, I just want to keep this all moist. I put a little on the back side here where it touches the brake shoes. And then we're going to put some never sees on these. And we're ready for reassembly. Let's get this and this brought over, and we'll put this on right now. So we've got a caliper bracket that's going to go on, like so. You squeeze my pads on. We've still got never sees on our pins, on our bolts, pardon me. So we're good with that. These are the 17s. Get these started, and then we're going to gear wrench them down, snug them up good. We've got our caliper, it's all greased up. Cute little thing, isn't it? So we're gonna slip this on. Push our boots in a little bit, our pins in. Got our never sees. Easier to put this on before I put the line on, because the line's kind of in your way. Get that one started. Get this one started. These are all 11s, 12s. We got the gear wrench out here because, you know, if you weren't changing these calipers, this line would be on and it would be tight. So you're not going to get a ratchet in the socket in there. You're going to have to use a wrench to take this off. And you do have enough room to get the bolt out, you know, if you're not changing the caliper. It's tight. It's tight. Bolt here. We said we were going to take a rag and make sure this was clean on both sides. So we could do your inspection, make sure it's clean. It's clean. So slide the bolt in there.
You get a copper washer on both ends.
Yep. And it's got a lineup mark in here. So it goes in there, and then the line falls into this space in here. So you can't really screw it up. And you're just going to snug this up. These are 11s. And changing the 12s on there or no? Yeah, they did. The original ones were 11s, and now these are 12s. Good. Just snugging that up. I'm gonna take my line off here. So we've got our 17s tight. We've got our 2 bolts over here tight. We've got our line tight. We took the vice grips off, so now the fluid can go. So when we bleed the brakes, we'll get fluid out. So now some people crack the line loose and they let it gravity bleed a little bit, and that'll save you a little bit on bleeding time. But you know, once you pump it up and you open the valve, you're going to force the air out. It's just on what your preference is. Some people let it gravity bleed, then they close, and then they bleed at the end. So we're doing a full wheel brake job. We're going to come back and bleed all at one time. Pop it up.
So what we're doing right here is we're bleeding the rear brakes. You start with the furthest brake, and that would be the passenger side rear. We did the rear calipers, so we got to bleed the air out of them.
Pop it up.
So what we're doing right now is we have somebody in the truck pumping up the brakes,
Pop it up.
and then you stand on the brake pedal once it's hard. And this is how you get all the air out of the line.
All right, let off, Joe. And then after we're done at the end, we're gonna dry everything down. We're gonna have him start it, and we're gonna step on it. We're gonna put the mirror underneath where we changed the caliper hose here. I mean, we changed the caliper, so we reattached the hose. So we're just gonna put a mirror down here, make sure we got no leaks.
Yep. So now we'll go to the inside. We'll show you what Joe's doing while Steve's talking. We're going to the other brake caliper because we replaced that one as well. We got to bleed the air out of the driver's side in the back now.
Good.
Hold it.
Pop it up. Good.
And the truck should be off while you're doing this.
Pop it up. Good. Pop it up. Okay, you can see our caliper and bolt. He's stepping on the brake. We've got no leak. So we've got no leak. Just step on the brake.
Yes, hold it.
Okay, so that's good. You got no leaks?
And we're going to check the other side.
Yep. So this procedure is going to be the same on the other side, and we changed the caliper because of the amount of mileage on the vehicle. It's over 100,000, and the customer plans on keeping the thing for a long time. So, you know, it's a good idea. And Tony got the calipers online; they're very reasonable, so it's worth, you know, throwing it together.